Mary Borchardt taught at Thomasboro Grade School for more than 30 years before she retired. She died last Friday. Today, her former colleagues and students reflect on her time at the school.
I worked with Miss B in the early 2000s, the very start of my career. She was here, and I believe she had actually kind of semi-retired at that point, but she was still here operating some special education programs that we had here at Thomasboro. She was tough. She ruled with an iron fist, but she had a heart of gold. She just really loved her kids. Sorry. You heard her before you saw her, and she knew everybody's name. She really loved every student and every family that ever walked these halls and through the door here at Thomasboro Grade School. She made me take this little boy who didn't want to come to school into her office and give him a good stern talking to, and his mother was there, and he was trying to pull the door open, and she finally just kind of grabbed him by the scruff of his shirt and said, "Young man, you're going to sit down and you're going to listen, and this lady has something to say." And I was like, and she goes, "You're on." And I was like, "What do I say to him?" And she said, "Just tell him how you feel." And so she taught me to just tell kids how much I loved them and how much I wanted them to be here every day. And she just always told me that if they know that you love them, they'll come, and you'll be able to teach them anything that they possibly need to know here. But the most important thing is they need to know that they're loved. And she instilled that in me, and I would say every other teacher that crossed her path, for sure. Just a huge void. She never knew a stranger, and she knew everything about you. And even if you hadn't seen her in years, she would pull out that memory of you when you were doing this, or remember when you would sit in class and do this. So many memories surround her, and so there's going to be a huge void in her family and within the community, and not just Thomasboro, but Ludlow, where she lived, and Rantoul, and all the families that she's affected over the years. She started here the year before I came. I think she was hired right after school started. They had a large class, they split, and she had a third grade class that year. I came in and she was set up to have a group of fourth, fifth grade students that had a little learning difficulty that she worked with. But after a year that was discontinued, and we had a social studies position open, and I convinced her, even though she wasn't sure, that she ought to give that a try. Her mother was a kindergarten teacher. She had taught kindergarten. She thought she was a kindergarten teacher. But after she got teaching the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders social studies, she just found her place right there. She was unique, I guess is the word. Brooke talked about her being a little harsh and whatever. I preached to her she ought to quit growling like an old bear. It never did work. Year started, she tried to lay down the law with the kids, and she had the 6th graders shaking in their boots by the time she got done with them. They spent 3 years with her. By the time they were in the 8th grade, they just loved her because they knew she was concerned and cared about them. And later, after they'd graduated and gone with some of those farmer students and come back to the area, they'd look up Mrs. B. Some teachers just seem to have the knack of giving that aura about them that they're in charge. And she did that and let them know what she expected, and she did not have discipline problems with her students. I think a good percentage of the students who went through here in the 30 years that Mary was here, that she's just part of their childhood memory and their growing up in Thomasboro.
The biggest thing was that she was passionate about what you did. You might not know it right then and there, but she would She would definitely let you know if you didn't do your homework, you didn't read, you didn't do what she wanted you to do. She was feisty, but you knew where you stood with her, and that was a big thing. You know, it's hold on. The biggest thing with her was watching the news every night. You had to know what was going on in the world. I caught myself as I got older, why am I watching the news? And I always laughed about it because it was something as a kid you were adamant that I'm not going to stay up and watch the news. I got cartoons, I got other things to worry about. That was one thing that always stuck there, and even till today I still watch the news. The biggest thing for me was just the respect level. You knew as a student you had to respect the teachers in this school, and she taught that. That was her thing, was to respect everyone, respect your parents, listen. She was kind of like the mom here at school, and then you had to go home and deal with your mom then too. So she would set you straight, and then you had to go home and get set straight too. So it's that was the biggest impact I had. She was a friend, but she was a teacher at the same time. Probably this day right now, if I had to talk to her, I'd have to say, how about that Illini? The only reason I say that is because she would have gave me a hard time, and that was kind of the relationship her and I had. I could give her a hard time about sports, she could do the same thing with me, but at the end of the day, she was one of the best teachers I ever had. She would talk about me and my sisters, how growing up, you know, my sisters used to tell me, wait till you get to that age and you meet Miss B, and boy, she's going to be on you. And I was scared to death as a kid. I'm like, I'm not going to get in trouble by this lady. Well, I met her. And I got in trouble, and she was the enforcer. So we would talk about stuff like that. And then even my nephew came to this school. And I told him, I said, you know, one of your favorite teachers is going to be Miss B. He goes, what do you mean? I said, once you meet her, then you tell me. Oh, Dad, or, you know, at that time, he was talking to my dad, and he goes, man, Dad, she was really on me. And I came around the corner, and I said, what'd you say? Miss B was on you? But till this day, him and I still talk, and he tells me that she made the biggest impact on his life, too. So it's, as a teacher, she did more than just teaching. So it made a huge impact in this school. I think for her, she just wanted everyone to be successful. Once you left here, you know, she didn't want that worry that, did I teach them everything they needed to know? Did they learn enough? And I think that's why she was so strict on everyone. And it wasn't strict in a bad way by any means. It's, you know, to me, it made me listen today. It made me want to learn more. And that's just the way she was. You know, one minute she was your teacher, next minute she was your friend. If you needed somebody to talk to, her door was wide open. You might not like what she had to say, but she would tell you the truth. She sat in a director's chair and stared at you. I mean, center of the class, she looked at you. And she always had this snake in the room that I was never a fan of. And this thing was massive. I don't even know how big it got to. 12 foot, somebody said at one time. And the snake's name was Ike, and that thing, it scared me. But I think her bite was a little bit more than the snake would have been. So